अपुन का बच्चा अपुन है तब तक इसका संभाल सके, इसके बाद कोई संभाल नहीं सकेगा। सबको जानना चाहिए कि ऑटिज्म क्या है। कोई कोई जानता नहीं है तो इसको समझना बहुत मुश्किल होता है।
देखिए, ये लोग पागल नहीं हैं, उनके ब्रेन डिफरेंटली वायर्ड है, इसके लिए वो ऐसे है। प्लीज़ उनको आप लोग समाज में एक्सेप्ट करो, वो जैसे भी है।
For society as a whole to be more inclusive, we need the help and acceptance of each and every one of you.
So every year on April 2nd, the world observes Autism Day. It is observed to raise awareness about the autism spectrum disorders, ASD as they are popularly called. This special day is aimed to remind us that autism is not a disease, it is a disorder. Autism is not Down syndrome. Autism is not kids having dysfunctional brains. Autism is not caused by vaccines. And that there is a life, and sometimes a very beautiful life even beyond autism. Sample this. Albert Einstein understood to be autistic. Isaac Newton understood to be autistic. The creator of Pokemon, Satoshi, understood to be autistic. Michelangelo, Charles Darwin, and the latest one, Elon Musk announced to the world that he is on the spectrum. So today on the program, we urge all you viewers to pay a little bit extra attention to what we're about to talk. We will cover some basics on autism, and also, since it's the Breakfast Club, we'll be joined by very special guests in our studio who will enlighten us about their journey, about how has it been on the spectrum for them. But first, some basics. I understand there are two kinds of people who really exist around us today. One who don't care about autism, and others who only know about it too well. So first up, let's cover some of the questions that you might have on your mind. For example, what exactly is autism spectrum disorder? ASD is a development disability caused by differences in the brain. People with autism behave, communicate, interact and learn in ways that are different from most people. But they look just like us. They look like regular people. Like everything in life, autism, remember, is a spectrum, meaning that the abilities of the person with autism can vary. For example, some people with autism may speak very well, might communicate very well, others might not. There might be some people who need a lot of help in their daily lives and are dependent, others might not. There are others, autistic people who might find jobs, find love, find life, and that is the whole purpose of the program today, to give you an insight on that. But let's also talk about signs here quickly. People with autism mostly have problems with social communication and interaction and have restricted or what is called repetitive behavior or interest. This, think of it, is something like they have a world of their own and they are most comfortable being in that world. Now, how big or small that really world is, how accommodating it is of people, interests, different diversity varies from person to person. Like I said in the opening, the theme of this year's Autism Day is color, to honor and cherish the diverse spectrum of abilities and experiences in the autism community. So since it is about color, it is about spectrum, it is about diversity, we have a full spectrum here with us in the studio. I'm so happy to dedicate the next half an hour on the program to talk about an issue that deserves so much attention but gets so little. So hello, good morning to everybody. Let me quickly introduce our viewers also to all these special guests who are sitting next to me today. First up is 18-year-old Weir. Hi Weir.
Hi.
Weir has been on the spectrum and he's joined by his mom Gopika. Gopika is a parent, she's also an advocate and an autism consultant. Hi Gopika.
Good morning.
Also with us is Veer's friend Rushil. Hi Rushil.
Hello.
Rushil is 28-year-old. He's been on the spectrum as well and he's joined by his mother Millie.
Hi, good morning.
Millie is of course one of those super moms and we have so much to understand and learn from her and Gopika. Also with us today is 25-year-old Aditi and 35-year-old Alap, both of whom are in love, are married, both of whom are also on the spectrum, and they do something absolutely spectacular. They are co-founder of this company called Much Much Media, and they now dedicate their life to making content on disability, on neurodiversity, on mental health, and so much more. Also joining me to give us some much needed perspective on things, on how much the autism space has evolved, is Ashwini. Ashwini is the head of healthcare at Jai Vakil Foundation.
Hi. Good morning.
And so good to have all of you over here. I see that Weir has come with a bit of his creation over here as well. So we'll talk about all of that. But Weir, first up, this is your first time in a television studio?
Yes.
Are you enjoying it so far?
Yes.
Yeah. So first, can I understand the meaning of autism from you, Weir? Since the show is about telling people what autism is, do you have a definition that you want to share with everyone?
Yes.
So go ahead.
Autism is my brain thinks differently.
Yeah.
So what do you have difficulties with?
I have difficulties with talking
To a lot of
to a lot of people.
And when you were younger, you could not make
I
friends.
could not make friends when I was younger,
But now,
but now I do make friends.
Yeah. And you could, communicate this so well to us. So thank you for that. So, Deepika, then the question really here is that, when we were thinking about this whole episode, and I was chatting up with all of you, and I wanted to understand autism, and I wanted people to understand the meaning of autism in a spectrum. Like everything in life, it's a spectrum. People are diagnosed at a particular stage, can develop, can get better. There is life beyond that as well. So take me through firstly, when did you diagnose? When was Weir first diagnosed? How did it happen?
so Weir was diagnosed when he was about 3 years old. And actually we kind of found out about it or realized what was going on just because of Tari Zameen Par. There were lots of articles which came out. And so I realized that there was something different about him. He has a twin sister. And I realized that there is something different about him. And so we took him to a developmental pediatrician at Umeed Child Development Center. And our developmental pediatrician, Dr. Vibha Krishnamurthy, told us that he's on the spectrum. And it took some time to kind of understand what it was. But if you're asking specifically what it was that he that led us to this, was that he used to somehow, he seemed to live in a world of his own. He was very happy in his own company, doing his own little thing, playing with his toys. His communication when compared to his sister was much less, and we were told the standard, girls talk faster than boys.
Yeah.
Eye contact was difficult. Eye contact still is sometimes a little difficult for Weir. And so all these things kind of made us realize that there is something that is different about this child, and let's find out what it is. And that's what led us to him being diagnosed on the autism spectrum.
Okay, and cut to now?
Well, now he's living a life which I could not even have envisioned. Weir is completely independent. He travels independently. He uses GPay. He goes out with his friends, which includes Rushil. Their weekend plans are much more than Millie or mine. And he's learning. He's doing a whole bunch of things. Like, do you want to tell them what you do? What do you do?
So my hobbies are baking, and I do bake sales
And
and
what else?
puzzles and mechano.
And what did you do? Run?
Ran the marathon.
Yeah. Run a marathon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's something even I haven't done in my life. It's on my bucket list. So well done, Weir. I want to talk about all those interests, including what you have over there in just a bit. But let me bring in Rushil in the conversation as well. Hi, how are you
Hello.
feeling today?
I'm great.
Great. Good. So, Rushil, you recently got an internship, I'm told.
Yes,
Yeah, can you talk to me about the experience?
the experience was great. I am interning in hospitality department in Hotel President at Trattoria restaurant.
Oh, how lovely. So, that would include a lot of people around you all the time?
Yes,
How does that work?
great, because I have currently interned in Autoka India in the social media platform.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. And do you think you can make a life out of it? This is what you want to do?
Yes, because I've always been concerned about what Skill Shakti was about. Because we are students that learn employability and life skills. And we are looking for more avenues to intern
Right.
in different organizations.
Right. And so glad that these avenues are now available. But Millie, before I sort of switch to, Skill Shakti and educate our viewers on what's happening, tell us about your journey with Rushil. When did you figure it out? How has it been?
So Rushil also was diagnosed at about 3.5, and it was around the same time as my third child was born. So we thought that, and at that time we noticed he had just clammed up and he was in a world of his own. He would just be spinning his toys, rocking and things like that. And we thought it's because of the new baby that he's feeling, And of course, speech and everything stopped. And then we went to Dr. Vibha Krishnamurthy. She had just come down from the States. And she immediately diagnosed him in about half an hour. And it was exactly what, and I had never heard of autism at that time. So it was a challenge initially, but yeah, with all the therapies and everything, he's come a long way.
Yeah. So when, and I just want to get a perspective here. Ashwini, when kids are diagnosed, so the thing about autism is that from, I think, 12 months to about 3 years is when you start seeing the signs. And the earlier you catch it, the better it gets?
It is. It is. So, although typically diagnosis, just like Millie's story and Gopika's story, you will see that diagnosis is made around 3 years, but the signs start becoming evident at a much earlier age. And when you go back into the histories with the parents, you can see that the children's challenges with socialization, communication, the lack of joint attention with the mother, all of these things start become evident much earlier than 3 years.
But talk to me about causes a little bit. For those of our viewers watching right now, trying to understand, are there some telltale signs? Because, it's so difficult to tell with kids. I have a 10-month-old back home. It is so difficult to tell what's really going on in their head.
It is. So some of the telltale signs that we look at, or what we look for, is how well do they relate to the people around them? How do they like to share their toys, share their feelings, share their emotions? What kind of an eye contact? It's as young as a six-month-old will start giving you eye contact and will start looking at you when you talk to them. How well is the eye contact developing for this child of mine? What is their intention to communicate? So often you see with children or with adults on the spectrum that the communication can be limited to a need-based communication. So we look at how well or what are the intentions to communicate as well. And those are some of the things that can alert you that there's something different that is happening here. And as soon as you realize that there might be something different, we urge you to go and see a developmental pediatrician for sure. Because they're the ones who will help you make sense of all the behaviors that you see in
So a development pediatrician is different from your regular pediatrician?
So a developmental pediatrician is definitely someone who's well trained in looking at how the child develops a lot more than your regular pediatrician.
I'm asking this because there is no test for autism, right? There is no regular blood test or anything you can
There are no biomarkers.
Yeah.
There are no biomarkers for autism. It is still a disorder which is diagnosed based on the behaviors that the child manifests or the characteristics that we can observe. There are some standardized tests that are available, but that is, again, a developmental pediatrician is best poised to administer those tests.
Right. So, say a parent has seen, because of awareness available today, we don't perhaps need Tare Zameen Par, as Deepika said, but hopefully because of more and more people talking about it, representation being really put out there, they diagnose, they go see a development pediatrician. The concept that really exists in people's mind is that this is it now, this is what you have to live with all your life. That's not true.
So, we know that autism is a disorder that will stay with you for your lifetime. However, what that means is that doesn't mean that the child will remain as they are at the time of diagnosis. With a lot of new intervention that is coming in, you have conventional evidence-based therapies, there is occupational therapy, there is speech therapy, there is psychology and counseling services that are available, there is social service that is available. All of these can contribute to making the child's functioning a lot better, communication a lot better, social skills a lot better, which enables them to then go out into the world and pursue educational pursuits or vocational pursuits as and how they would like to, or even go further and get married and have a life of their own. So therapies definitely will make a difference to the child's life. But that's again to say that autism is a disorder. Just like if I have weak eyesight, I know that I'm always going to need glasses. You can never take away my glasses and say enough of your glasses and that's it. So I know that I will be living with autism disorder always.
Yeah, so you'll stay in the spectrum. You can get better or worse, or
your abilities get
depending,
better, your functioning definitely can get better for sure.
So Deepika, what did you do? Gopika, what did you do? Beg your pardon there. To sort of understand this at such an early age and then to ensure that you were doing the right thing. Now you're an advocate as well.
Yeah, so I think the first thing that Vibha told us when Weir was diagnosed was do not read beyond these 3 websites, because honestly that is what, there's a whole crazy world out there on the internet which is very scary, and the more you read the more scared you get. So I started out educating myself, watching videos. There was very little. I'm talking about 16 years ago. There was no Instagram. There were no self-advocates. There was no, moms talking out and stuff like that. And a lot of all the information that was given was from a Western perspective. And so I really started educating myself, taking Weir to therapy. And then somewhere along the line, I realized that we were so privileged because we had the resources to pay for therapy. I didn't have to, kind of keep working while taking him for therapy. I could afford to take him for therapy, and so I started working as a therapist at Umeed. And I worked there for 10 years, working with various kids on the spectrum, and they taught me so much. And Ashwini was a colleague there and a good friend. And then when I left Umeed in 2020, I realized that all those books that I'd read all those years ago were all from the US, from Australia, from the UK. There was nothing from India. And so that's when I decided to write my book Beyond the Blue, because we really needed an Indian voice. And so that's how I didn't plan this journey into advocacy, but that's how it started with Beyond the Blue, and it continues.
Yeah, but talking about the Indian perspective, even the number that we were looking at, so WHO has a number which says 1 in 100 children turns out to be autistic. That number is really outdated from what we understand. Is that true?
Well, there are different resources, and if you look at different websites and different sources, the numbers do vary. WHO, we'll rely on the WHO numbers because that is more of a worldwide kind of a number. If you look at the Center for Disease Prevention in the US, the CDC numbers or Autism Speaks numbers are very different and much higher as compared to the WHO numbers. But just to be mindful of the fact that there are still a lot of low and middle income countries like ours from where the numbers are really not reliable. We do not have a really accurate prevalence number coming out of India. So considering that, we still go by the WHO numbers for now, but we don't know what the reality is out there.
We don't know the reality, which is what brings me to the kind of awareness that really lacks when it comes to autism, when it comes to talking about the spectrum. And on that note, I want to bring in Aditi and Alap into the conversation. Hi, you guys. Hi. How are you doing?
Good.
Good.
Happy to
So, Aditi, I'm just going to say it really out there and for everybody watching as well. When I was doing my research and I was talking to Aditi, I kept asking Aditi, are you sure you're on the spectrum? Like, are you absolutely clear about it? Because I'm not getting it. Can you please educate me on what this means? Aditi is somebody who was diagnosed at 23 years of age. It really blew my mind, and I want you to tell our audiences what you told me.
So, a lot of us slip through the cracks because our symptoms are not that visible, right? And because, like, as we speak, autism is a spectrum, and some people are able to communicate better, some are not able to communicate better, some have more challenges. So that's how it was for us also, and Alap discovered it first, and he was reading this book called Neurotribes, and that's when he started sort of joining the dots. And when he went into diagnosis, I was like, okay, I should read about autism and I should get to know more about him, about autism. And I came across some videos by autistic women on YouTube. I came across some research articles, and that's when I realized that what you see on the internet about autism is mostly about kids or mostly about boys. It's not about Indian women who are older than 18 years old. So so that's when, like, when I started, and again, all these videos were made by Western women or trans people, and I realized that there is very little information about autism, and I am relating to a lot of these things, but I don't have a role model here in India, someone who I can speak to. I realized that all the challenges that I had, or all the strengths I had, like attention to detail, I focus a lot on the details as opposed to the larger picture a lot of the times, and Alap will agree to that. Having sensory sensitivity. So what my autism discovery also provided me was this world of new language, right? So when you grow up, you are not told that, okay, if if loud sounds are hurting you, that is something that is different. So I found out about sensory sensitivities, like being bothered by loud sounds or being bothered by bright lights, or Alap is very sensitive to smell. So if there is something in the if the dustbin is like 2 rooms away and it's like way far, he will still be like, is there something at home that is stinking? And I'm like, okay, this is not even the same room. So these are the things, these are the little things that parents don't realize.
So hold on, you guys found each other, you found love before you found out that you were on the spectrum. This is like a match made in some heaven somewhere, I must say. But Alap, how did you discover this?
So as she said, I was reading this book called Neurotribes. For a while, I knew that there was something that wasn't, like, fitting too well in terms of my mental health not being in the right place. I'm in the media space, so there's anxiety, and there was a lot of internal conflict with. So there's no real problem with my language as such, but communication still comes with some difficulty to me.
But hold on, you guys do movies, you guys are surrounded by people, you've been through school, college, regular upbringing.
Right.
So I'm just trying to wrap my head around this.
So it's called autistic masking, essentially. So autistics mask a lot. It's a concept that is pretty much unknown to neurotypicals up until now. But essentially what autistics do is something called masking, which is presenting themselves in a way that appears to fit in with the neurotypical world around them. Because what's going on within their own worlds, as people say, being in their own world, is something that they don't know they'll be accepted for in the outside world. So which is why they need to present themselves in certain ways that appears okay to the outside world around them, right? So that's called autistic masking. So eventually autistic masking takes a toll on your mental health. So that's what happens over like a repeated, sort of like a long period of time. And when I sort of went in for the diagnosis, I also read Gopika's book, Beyond the Blues, right before we met her and Weir. And she says something really cool in the book. She says, for autistic people, work is play and play is work. And I really don't know any other way to like describe autism better than that. That is literally what it is. For us, our work is literally play, but playing, which is like meeting people and socializing with people, is extremely difficult. So we have to really script conversations. I mean, we think about what to say, what not to say, what will be accepted, what won't be accepted. So all of those things essentially led me to go in for a diagnosis. It came out positive. My dad went in for a diagnosis after that. He's 65. He got diagnosed positive as well. Yeah, and he's a doctor. So my dad is a doctor who's autistic. He now does advocacy also, and there's a whole group of doctors internationally who advocate. They call doctors with disabilities. So they are all autistic doctors on the spectrum who practice and talk about autism, being autistic themselves. So it's a big community. It's a really big community, and you know, it's growing. And thanks to autism moms also, you know, they've done most of the advocacy for so long.
Yes,
So I think they've done an amazing job, and experts, of course.
I'm still wrapping my head around everything that you have just said. But talking about work and play, I really want to get to what's sitting right here with us. So, Weir, do you want to tell our viewers what is this? I'm told you've made this. What does it do?
So this is a windmill. It spins around. Well, I connect the plug to the plug point, and it spins around. It's made from mechano.
Oh, nice. And that's the major hobby, right? Like
Yes.
to do. You have to do all of this.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, Gopika, tell me, when we obviously are talking about success stories here, we're talking about how much that can be done. There are still so many, and you're right when you talk about privilege, there are so many out there who still do not understand autism. There are so many who do not have an environment which can take care of them or take care of the child. And depending on where you are placed on the spectrum, a lot of kids, and a lot of people, I must say now, after this conversation, a lot of people are undiagnosed for a really long time and are also dependent. So how do you deal with that? What is your way for people who are just discovering this about their child and their world is coming crashing down on what's really happening? What is your first thing for them?
So I think the first thing that I remember Vibha telling us when Weir was diagnosed was, and this is something I quote to all the moms and dads who I meet, is that this is a marathon, it's not a 100-meter sprint. So please take care of yourself. There is a tendency to focus on the child, which of course you must do, of course you have to, because like Ashwini said, you know, the early intervention works, the brain is growing at that time and it's like a sponge, so you want to expose your child, you want to make sure that your child is learning as much, but at the same time what tends to happen, I did it to myself, you totally neglect yourself and you burn out. And it's like that standard, you know, being on the aeroplane where the oxygen mask drops.
Yeah.
So you put on your oxygen mask and then before you kind of put it onto your child, that is exactly what you need to do.
Well put.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you need to do. So you need to be able to, of course, work with your child, but you need to be able to take care of yourself, because honestly, I know what I was like. I had all these anxieties, I had all these thoughts, I would not sleep at night. What is going to happen in the future? I never imagined this future. I never imagined a day when Weir would travel independently by cabs, use GPay, go out with his friends, have a social life. It was just not, I wouldn't even be able to imagine that he would read or write, you know, and all these things came true. But I realized, learning the wrong way, that there were times when I didn't take care of myself, and you need to be able to do that, because you're not going to be able to help your child otherwise.
Yeah, Rushil is giving me a really wide smile on that one, Millie.
I think acceptance is the key. Once you accept the situation, then, you know, everything just flows.
Yeah.
For me, I was very positive. I don't know, I just knew that everything's going to be fine and he'll be fine. Literally, I mean, once I accepted, it was all. I had great support from my family, my friends, met some wonderful people along the way. I think they've come to, you know, teach us a lot about compassion, about being non-judgmental. They're just pure souls.
And there is so much available really out there. Talk to me a little bit about the program that you got Rushil enrolled in, and what is it doing for other people on the spectrum?
There's a lovely lady called Sangeeta Advani who is a parent of a Down syndrome daughter, and she started these classes about 3 years ago from her home called Skill Shakti Community, where she wanted to you know, enable these neurodiverse adults to be able to go out there into the world and, you know, get jobs and internships, and so it's been an amazing journey. Yeah.
Rushil, what do you do in this workshop?
In this workshop, we are practicing Canva, which is a design software.
Yeah.
And what else do you know?
And we are practicing Google Slides, which is very helpful. for making PPTs.
We learned about finance.
We are learning about finance to be able to learn to earn money.
And budget.
Budgeting
lot of other
is
things.
important.
Yeah.
And we're learning Chat GPT, OpenAI, where we get to get information.
Yeah.
So, and what are your thoughts on Chat GPT and OpenAI?
Very knowledgeable. In case you want to find an answer to a question
Yeah.
which you've never thought about.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh
Chat
man.
GPT
This is really.
is the solution.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ashwini, we are in a time, an age when there are lots of options available, or let's just put things in perspective, lots of options available for those who can afford it and those who are in the metros. We don't know what's happening the other side. Leaving thoughts, what do you want our viewers to sort of take away from what your learnings have been so far? And the whole idea is that people, I think, don't understand that there is a life beyond the spectrum, there is a life within and with the spectrum as well, and that life, like I said in my introduction, can be very beautiful. How does one get to realize that?
It can be. So like we spoke about earlier, it is a spectrum condition is something that is going to live with you for the rest of your life. And we want all our children and adults with autism, diverse as they may be one part of the society and the community that we live in. So I think it is imperative as life lessons for us and from the experience that we've had all these years. I think it's important, like Millie said, acceptance not just within the family, but acceptance of from the community and from society at large, I think is very crucial. And what that means is, it means just go out and talk to a person with autism today. Don't hold back. Just go and say hello like you would do any other point in time. Look out for ways in which you can create opportunities to interact with them socially. Yes, their response might be a little different from yours, but that shouldn't hold us back from initiating that conversation. As society, we need to come together and create more opportunities for education, for inclusive education, and we need to create more opportunities for vocational training for our people with autism, especially for, like you said, for situations where there aren't so many resources. That is where society needs to come together and play a larger role than just the formal organizations.
And I also think there's so little research medically done on the reasons, the causes. It's just nobody's studying it. It's like pregnancy. People just assume it's going to happen, and there's such little work done on that. Quick closing comments. I'll start with you.
So I think the research honestly needs to be done from the perspective of asking people who are autistic themselves on what society can do to better their lives. Because the thing is that it's not that important, I feel, to know why it's happened. It's more important to know what we can do as a society to make sure that individuals on the spectrum are leading full productive lives, and how we can change systems and society to make sure that that happens.
Yeah. I'm going to come to Millie, and then I'll give the last word to Weir and Rushil.
Yeah, I agree with what Gopika is saying. It's we need to know how to go forward. The society needs to prepare them how to go forward. And I just wanted to say that this is Rushil's creation that he has sketched. And yeah,
that's lovely.
Very proud of him.
That's lovely. Aditi Alap.
So I feel that, I mean, autism diagnosis is definitely not the end of the world. When people are given an autism diagnosis, it's mostly, and back in the day it was given in a way where they would say that, oh, your son or your daughter has autism. But in the autistic community, as autistics, we congratulate people when someone gets an autism diagnosis. We have congratulation cakes and parties for autism diagnosis. And I think autism needs to be celebrated as opposed to thinking that it's a tragedy. And there's a big autistic community in India and globally, which autistic people can be a part of, and there is no shame to come out there and just talk about your autism, because the more we talk about it, I think the stigma will start breaking, and the biases that people have about autistic people, the preconceived notions that people have about autism, those will start changing once we autistic people start advocating for ourselves and
Well,
parents.
that's the hope. That's the hope that after listening to all these beautiful people over here, perhaps that perspective shift will happen. Alap?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a tragedy. There's a beautiful article by Jim Sinclair. It says, "Don't mourn for us," which essentially means that once people know that you're autistic, people automatically start thinking of your life as a big tragedy. But that's definitely not the case. With the right accommodations, with the right support system, with the right people around you, we call it the village. The right people around you, autistic people can lead extremely productive, extremely self-fulfilling lives. And I think that should be the general direction that the society should be heading in, as opposed to trying to find cures or trying to find the reasons why autism happens, etc., etc. I think that's the research that needs to be done on how we can be supported as a community.
Yeah, yeah. Weir, I'm going to come to you next. Do you have a leaving note that you want to tell all our viewers about autism?
What do you want to say? That autistic people, I think that autistic people can do anything.
Yeah,
Say.
I think that people can do anything.
Ah, that's like it. Rushil, in that lovely shirt of yours now, you have to give a parting note to all our viewers.
That anyone can make a decorative designs.
Nice.
Everyone has creativity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone has their own creativity.
Decorative designs, decorative lives. That is my takeaway from all of this. Thank you all so much for joining us, for sharing your stories with us. This has been
Thank you.
very inspirational, educational, and I really hope we've been able to put that message across to our viewers as well on what is the meaning of autism, what is the spectrum all about, what does living with autism really mean, and what is the life that you can create that if you are living it to its full potential. On that note, we